What's up, everyone? Matt Gajewski here, back again with another daily college basketball show. We'll be recapping yesterday's action and then getting into what we can expect from today's action. It is Thursday, February the 20th. Thursday is generally a mid-major dominated night. There's a few games in the high major conferences up at the top. We'll discuss those and a lot more. Before we get started, if you enjoyed the video or you have been enjoying them for a little while, liking, subscribing, commenting, all that helps a ton. New channel, so thank you if you've done that. It's not lost on me that you are taking your time to do so. All right, yesterday, not too much action at the top of the board. We saw Alabama lose their second straight game. A lot of questions with that program right now. But Missouri continues to assert themselves as a power in the SEC and looking like they're going to climb into protected seed range if they can close out their schedule strong. They may have already achieved that for themselves. Not 100% sure where they sit there, but Alabama appears to be falling a little bit. I don't think they're going to reach the 3 line at any point, but wouldn't be surprised to see them end up as a 2 if this continues. 2 good losses, so it is what it is with Bama. I think they're pretty firmly a 1-2 even still. Kentucky, shorthanded, beats Vanderbilt, who might be on the outside looking into the tournament. They were in the field, albeit slightly. It's just going to be tough for some of these SEC teams. Even if they did well in non-con, you're just eventually taking on so much water, which is the case with Vanderbilt. Kentucky just shorthanded. What they've been able to do is pretty crazy. No Lamont Butler, no Jackson Robinson, of course, no Creasa, who's been out for a large portion of the season. Otherwise, not too much other action at the top. Auburn gets it done against against Arkansas. They did not cover, but part of the things you need to do when you play in these power conferences, especially the SEC, is win when you're not playing your best, win these greasy games. They did that. As far as other games we took, we had Oregon over Iowa. That came through. We had Tulane over East Carolina. That came through, mentioned at the end of the show. We had under in South Alabama and Arkansas State at 142. That came through. Only loss was Bradley, which is one we took. But yeah, that Arkansas State game was huge in the Sun Belt. Now South Alabama moves ahead of them. There were tons of implications in the Summit League. We didn't bet any of those, but South Dakota upset St. Thomas. We saw North Dakota State upset South Dakota State. We saw Omaha win again against Kansas City. Again, we've been talking about Omaha for a while now at the top of that conference. Their power rankings are low, but they keep winning games, and it's pretty ridiculous what they've been able to achieve. And the last important one, Boise ends up with a win over New Mexico. That's huge out west in the Mountain West Conference. All right, we're going to spin this forward and talk about today's action. We'll begin in the Big Ten. Big Ten plays almost every single day now, of course. They're not the best games, but it is Big Ten at least. Northwestern takes on Ohio State. This game has a 10.5-point spread, and the total is up to 144 points. Injuries in the game, far more impactful on the Northwestern side. Brooks Barnhizer and Jalen Leach are out for the season. 2 of their 3 best players. With Ohio State, Michie Johnson's just been gone for a while. These injuries have been felt by Northwestern. There's no way around it. They've lost 3 straight. They've lost 6 of their last 7. That includes losses to some suspect teams like number 92 Washington. On their profile, they do have top 25 wins over Illinois and Maryland, but that occurred with 2 of their 3 top best players, Barnhizer and Leach. It's kind of just been a disaster, and the wheels have fallen off since those guys have left. When you look at Ohio State's body of work, they're far more battle-tested, not always winning those games, but they are 3-7 against top 25 teams. Wins over number 17 Kentucky, 13 Purdue, and 15 Maryland. Their lowest loss is against Pitt at number 52, which is semi-respectable. As far as stylistics, Northwestern, 66th tallest lineup. Ohio State is 221st. I wouldn't read too much into that. These teams use their height in different ways. Northwestern's basically just using 7-footer Matthew Nicholson as a defender. He is elite at protecting the rim, but he does almost nothing on the offensive end, which is why you're going to see some of their offensive statistics, even inside lag, despite playing a tall lineup. And outside of Nicholson, Northwestern can't rebound. Barnhizer was their second best rebounder. He's gone. They actually rank 175th in total rebounding. Ohio State is 163rd. So despite coming in shorter by a pretty significant margin, Ohio State is better at rebounding. They're also better at rebounding offensively. They're better at scoring inside. The only place where Northwestern really has an edge is defensively on the interior. And again, that is all just Nicholson. As far as Ohio State on the offensive end, just a way better shooting team, way better scoring team than Northwestern. 17th in three-point percentage. Northwestern is 171st. Guard defense is a lot better for Ohio State as well. I chalk this up to Northwestern's flat out playing with guys they didn't expect to be in these roles this year. And it is what it is. It sucks. But that's just how Northwestern, their season is shaken out. I didn't take anything in this game. I lean under 144. Northwestern's playing extremely slow, 308th in pace. Ohio State's not much faster. They're 185th. This is coming up, though. So there's no reason to take this at the moment. The moment I woke up, it was 143.5. It's now 144. If this keeps steaming, it will be something I play. Just going to wait and see where it closes out. Next up, we are going to remain in the Big Ten. Crazy road trip. USC's out in Maryland. Wild what the Big Ten has come to. Also a 10.5 point spread in favor of the home team. Maryland totals 152.5. Injuries in this game. Terrence Williams for USC, a couple depth pieces. Maryland's pretty healthy, just Braden Pierce, another depth piece. So not much to say here. Resume-wise, USC is 2-4 in the top 25. They have wins over Illinois and Michigan State. They've got some bad losses. It is what it is. They lost to 121 Cal and number 85 Minnesota. That was in their most recent game. Maryland hasn't played as many top 25 teams. They're 2-2. And they have some of the same losses. They lost to Washington, 92 in Northwestern. Same caliber, at least, not same teams. Northwestern at 58. That was in overtime. That was also against a full-strength Northwestern with Barnheiser and Leach. So don't look too much into the sub-50 loss from Northwestern. That team would be a top 50 team if we still had Barnheiser and Leach. So it's a pretty good body of work from Maryland. They have a lot of advantages in this game. They're the much taller team. They're far more effective. They actually have the most efficient starting five in the country right now. Depth is always going to be a question for them. 84th in effective height. USC is 230th. The work Julian Reese and Derek Queen have done has been awesome. They both doubled over the weekend on Sunday. They're 40th in rebounding as a team, just nationally. USC is 229th. USC is 268th in interior defense. This is just wheels up, wagon game for Julian Reese and Derek Queen. And then you have pretty good guards on the outside with Gillespie, Selton Miguel. I mean, this team has played so much better than I thought they would. They're shooting 32nd in just effective field goal percentage, 32nd from three. USC trails in both those metrics. They're 53rd in effective field goal, 61st from three. Both these teams defend the three at a top 30 rate, so it's not going to come easy. On the margins, Maryland holds basically every advantage there, turnovers and fouls. I will say this is going to be a fast-paced game. Both teams top 130 in pace, and it's only gotten faster since conference play. Maryland has basically remained constant. They're 62nd in tempo in conference. USC is 97th. So pretty big jump there. With Maryland's ability to score inside and just trusting their guards across the board, I think they eclipse their team total. Can USC do some work themselves? It's not going to be easy, but they should have some ability to score. They have strong attacking guards, especially now that they got Des Claude back. So I took over 152.5 based on pacing, increasing in conference play, and the ability for each of these teams to score. Big weakness for USC defensively. Maryland, not so much, but USC doesn't need to do as much of the legwork in this matchup. Oh, I added the little pick section on the bottom. So there were some questions in the comments previously. We talk about a lot of games. We don't always take them. So picks, that's one I actually took. If it says lean, like this game here, I did not take it. It's just the side I would take if you force me to. And I'll always try to say if I have a plan with the game like this one, I will take under if it keeps going up. But just some show logistics. Let's move forward to some mid-majors. We're back to the ASUN, and we're back to Lipscomb, who dropped their Tuesday game, I believe it was, playing 2 days later. Monday or Tuesday they played. Don't recall. But this game, another extremely impactful game in the ASUN. North Alabama is in sole possession of first place. Lipscomb is tied for number 2 with Eastern Kentucky. They're down in tiebreakers now after they got swept in the Eastern Kentucky series. That's the team they most recently lost to. And now we have this game coming in, 147.5 total, 6-point spread in favor of Lipscomb. North Alabama, fully healthy. Lipscomb, Grant Asman, he's their only injury. This is a rematch. They played on January 23rd. North Alabama won on their home floor, 74-64. They held Lipscomb to 25% from three, and they out-rebounded Lipscomb 41-26, which is a little bit surprising. Resume-wise, again, Lipscomb just lost their second game to number 170 Eastern Kentucky over the weekend. Their only loss that's worse than Eastern Kentucky came against Queens, who's 213, but they don't have the best profile either. Lipscomb, as far as they're ranked, I'm a little bit surprised. Their best win is 110 Chattanooga. They got blown out by all their high major opponents. They played Arkansas and Kentucky. So it's a pretty balanced resume, just without any of the flash. They don't have any of the bad losses either. North Alabama does have a pair of bad losses. They lost to 253 Northwestern State, and they also lost to Queens. As far as wins go, these teams are very comparable. Wins near the top 100, no wins inside, blown out by good teams. That'll just happen in the ASUN. You're dealing with a talent deficit. Stylistically, Lipscomb is 77th in effective height. North Alabama is 277th. But interestingly, North Alabama holds some rebounding edges. They're 75th overall in rebounding. Lipscomb is 149th. A lot of this comes because North Alabama prioritizes the offensive glass, and that's something Lipscomb does not do. They're outside the top 300 in offensive rebounding. Lipscomb's a better shooting team, so some of that is just not having as many opportunities. But yeah, when you're a better shooting team, you don't need to prioritize the glass as often. And again, they're just a better shot-making team. 26th in effective field goals, 78th from three. North Alabama, 163rd in effective field goal percentage, 188th from three, so just a clear gap there. Interestingly, despite the height advantages that North Alabama has on paper, this sets up as a pretty decent interior scoring spot for Lipscomb. They're 16th at interior scoring. North Alabama is 247th at defending the interior. These teams are basically identical in the margins, fouls, turnovers, nothing really to see there. But ultimately, this comes down to this being too many points. I do think Lipscomb is rightfully favored. And you want to talk narratives? Yeah, it's a good spot coming off the loss. But North Alabama has shown the ability to play with teams comparable to Lipscomb, and their resumes are very similar at this point. I think there's a chance we're somewhat underrating North Alabama. A +6 is fine to me. We make this closer to +4.5, +5. So I did play this on the road. Not sure where it moves. You might be able to get like a 6.5 or a 70 if you wait. But I would play the 6 if that's where it sits. Next up, Charleston, Northeastern. We're going to the CAA. This game is a pick'em right now. Total in the game is 151. These teams are trending in the opposite directions in terms of injuries. Charleston has had a ton of injuries this year. They're now fully healthy. Even Wilk Tavares returned for this team after missing about 7 games. Northeastern is not quite like that. They lost Yuri Fritz. They lost Masai Troutman. They're more injured than Charleston at this point. This is a good battle in the CAA. Charleston is tied for 3rd. Northeastern is 6th. Everyone currently trading Towson. But you look at resume, Charleston's 1-2 against top 100 teams. They beat number 83 St. Joseph. Their 2 losses came to 68 Liberty and 80 Oregon State. Quality resume for this team, only 2 losses outside the top 100. They lost to William and Mary, outside the top 200. They lost to William and Mary at 217 and Monmouth at 286. Northeastern, they don't have a lot of high caliber wins. Only 3 in the top 200, beat Central Connecticut 182, Florida Gulf Coast 155, and Campbell 172. And their losses are a little bit worse as well. They have 4 losses outside the top 200, whereas Charleston only has 2. But this is a rematch. Played on January 18th. Charleston won 87-85. They were at home. They were out rebounded, but both teams put up some crazy efficiency. Northeastern shot 44% from 3. Charleston shot 52.4%, which is a crazy performance. And Wilk Tavares did play in that game. He went 8 of 9 from 3. Talk about just a crazy performance. He almost single-handedly won that game. But Charleston's going to play with a massive size advantage, 78th in effective height, Northeastern 303. And this is weird. Honestly, Northeastern is 100 spots ahead of Charleston in rebounding, similar to the last matchup that comes from their work on the offensive glass. As far as shooting goes, Charleston holds a lot of slight edges. They're 113th in three-point percentage. Northeastern's 239th at defending their perimeter. So the mismatch is bigger in favor of Charleston versus what Northeastern will be facing. The biggest weakness on Charleston's side, if you were a Northeastern backer, is their interior defense. They're 224th. Northeastern's 144th at scoring on the interior, so they're okay there. But still, there's a lot of little micro advantages Charleston's direction. And then Northeastern is 289th in turnovers committed. Charleston's only 219th in turnovers forced, but I still think that's noteworthy. Basically, across the board, you have these tiny little advantages Charleston's direction. You have health working in their favor. Again, like we're looking at season-long statistics, season-long efficiency metrics. They've only had one of their key contributors play every game this year, and a lot of multi-game absences. Their best shooter, Tavares, is basically hitting 47% of his threes. He's missed close to a third of the season, 25% of the season. So there is a little bit of room for growth in the Charleston efficiency metrics, and it's just not quite the same with Northeastern. I took this when it opened at Charleston +1. I still think the pick'em is okay. I'm not really looking to get in on this if it ends up being Charleston favored. But that is the side we're looking to, the healthier team in this conference, still chasing the top of this league, of course. We have everyone chasing Towson, but is what it is. They can do some work tonight in this contest. All right, we're going to get really small to close this out. Bryant takes on Vermont. It's a 1.5 point spread in favor of the road team. The total in the game is 141.5. This is in the AEC. It's a massive night in this conference. You basically have a tie at number 2 between Vermont and Maine. Bryant is number 1 and Albany is number 4. All these teams play each other tonight. So it's an awesome slate of games at the top of the AEC. A lot is going to be decided. There are no major injuries in this game. This is a rematch from January 11th. Bryant absolutely slaughtered Vermont. They were at home. Score finished 73-53. Bryant forced 17 turnovers and limited Vermont to 30% from 3. On the year, Bryant has played 3 top 100 teams, gotten blown out every single time. St. Bonaventure, Grand Canyon, St. John's. They do not have a top 200 win. Their best victory is against number 209 Drexel. They only have one sub 300 loss. That was against Stonehill by 1 point. Stonehill is 304th. Just when we talk about these teams, the AEC is very different than like the CAA or someone even better than that, like the Sun Belt. This is one of the worst conferences in the country. The winner of this conference is likely to be a 16 seed. So when we contextualize it, like top 200 wins are pretty good for this conference. You don't want a lot of sub 300 losses, but almost everyone's going to have some. That's the kind of conference this is. So just a little bit different compared to some of the other ones we've talked about today. 300 losses aren't the worst for this team or this conference. Anyway, on to Vermont. They've played 2 top 100 teams like Bryant. They've gotten blown out in both of them, Auburn and Yale. They actually have a top 200 win. Bryant does not. They beat number 111 UAB. That was in the opening game of the year. Vermont has 1 loss outside the top 300, just like Bryant. This was against Binghamton by 3 points. So comparable resumes across the board for both these teams. You do have the key data point, the head-to-head in favor of Bryant, drastically. Efficiency-wise, Bryant's taller, which is noticeable. They're 107th in effective height. Vermont is 203rd. On the glass, Bryant's 97th. Vermont 145th. Bryant is a vastly superior shooting team, 166th in effective field goal, 137th from 3. Vermont is 309th in effective field goal, 278th from 3. Defensively, I think Vermont has some slight overall edges just overall. But when you dig in, some of that comes from just turnovers forced. Bryant's actually a little ahead of Vermont in both interior defense and perimeter defense, which surprised me. And I can't say I'm super surprised. Vermont is very much a homegrown team. They have a lot of veterans. Bryant is more talented on paper. Their transfers are from a higher level of competition. Rafael Pinzon's from St. John's. Earl Timberlake played at both Miami and Memphis. Barry Evans is from St. Bonaventure. Ja'Kai Robinson's from Miami. It's a lot of just highly talented players on this Bryant team. I lean this direction at minus the 1.5. I likely will end up taking it. had some hesitation on where this was going to go throughout the day with Vermont playing at home. So just pause for the time being, but one we will probably take with time. Before we head out of here, couple others, actually just one other to add so far, two others to add so far. I took Cal State Bakersfield plus 4.5 against UC Davis, and I took an under in Louisiana Troy at 138.5 to round up the card. So I have taken 5 so far. We're going to add the rest in Discord when we get there. If you'd like to join, the link is below. We're taking all these lines early. We're adding throughout the day when injuries are released, whatever that may be. We're projecting player props, points, rebounds, assists, turnovers, blocks, whatever you want. We're doing that for all the big games. Also projecting games, lines, totals. That will all be below. Thank you for watching. If you have feedback, please let me know. Trying to listen to what everyone has to say in the comments. But until tomorrow, good luck, everyone. We'll see you later.